Hi, I'm Jill Perla. I'm so happy to have you here. Today we are going to be painting an ocean. This is a small canvas, a nice easy painting. Really, it's all about moving the colors around the canvas. I'm going to put that down here on my table. You can paint on the table, or if you're like me, I have this really old beat up easel I can use, and this is my blank canvas that we're going to use. I have a paper plate. You can use something fancier if you'd like, maybe a palette paper or a painter's palette, something like that, but paper plates work fine. I've got some really inexpensive paints I can use, and I also have a little bit more heavy body expensive paint. So either way, inexpensive, expensive, doesn't matter. Some brushes here, just a variety of brushes. These are, again, not the fanciest brushes, but when you go like this, if you kind of tap on it, it feels it doesn't just squish down, because when you have those brushes that really squish down, then they really don't hold the paint well. So that is one thing to look out for. Put that guy back in there. So I'm going to start with this paintbrush. This paintbrush, and I'm not very technical, you'll notice that. This one has like a little edge. Kind of see how it points up like that? That is a really good brush to use when I use lines, okay? So the first thing we're going to start out with, I've got a little bit of white here. I already put that out. I'm going to get a little bit of blue. I've got this sort of light blue. I'm going to squirt that right here on the palette. Just a little bit goes a long way. And then I'm actually getting a little of this dark blue, okay? So we're going to squirt that right there, okay? So we've got both colors, all right? So in order to start your canvas, you kind of want to look at the way it's blocked out here. You've got about a third here, and just a little bit down here. So you notice it's in sections, okay? So that's how we're gonna paint the canvas. So I'll put this back. I'm gonna take my brush and I'm gonna dip it in the lighter color and the darker blue with the white. So it's all there, and I'm gonna kind of mix it up on the paper, add maybe a little bit more white and a little bit more water. See, I'm kind of swirling that around. So it's a nice light blue. If you only have the dark blue, that's okay, not to worry. We're just gonna use the blue that we have. So the first thing you wanna do is draw a little line across here, okay? So you're just gonna kind of go right across, okay? That's usually the hardest part. See how wiggly it is right now? That's okay. You wanna just draw that line, because it's going to be covered up a lot, okay? Then we're going to just draw a little line down here. So if you notice, I've got this just a little bit here, and see, here's the sky, here's the ocean, and here's the sand. So this is where the sky is going to be, this is where the ocean's going to be, and this is where the sand's going to be, okay? So I'm going to take the canvas off my easel, because sometimes it's easier, and I'm just going to show you right here. I'm going to dip my brush into the dark blue, okay? Oh, forgot my rag. Here's my rag. Don't forget about that. Use that. Rags, or you could even use paper towels, whatever works. Okay, so I'm going to take my brush, and again, just go right over this, just to make that line just a little bit straighter, okay? Then we're gonna bring that other line right down here, okay? Not to worry if it's a little bit wiggly, okay? Now what I'm gonna have you do, this sounds weird, upside down, okay? I'm gonna have you tip the painting upside down. So put it here, okay? So now we're gonna dip our brush. You still have that same little brush. You don't need to get a whole bunch of different brushes to do the same sort of thing. You're gonna dip it into the white, okay? And you're going to come right over, and you're going to fill this whole section in with what we're going to call the sky, okay? Now, if you notice, it's just going in. You might need a little bit more paint, or maybe that brush is a little bit too small. So just go ahead and let that guy rest. Make sure you put it in your water, okay? Because you don't want him to get dried out, okay? So get your bigger brush. See, this is just a little bit bigger brush. It's kind of got a squared off edge there. Dip it right back into the paint, and you're just gonna go right across there, okay? Now remember, we're doing the sky, and we're doing it upside down. It's just a nice light coat, okay? So I'm doing that. So we're just smoothing that out, okay? All right, so now that is the sky, okay? I'm gonna take it, I'm gonna flip it back, okay? See how it's just pretty light? It's not too dark. It's almost, what we're doing right now is called color blocking. I don't know if you've ever heard of color blocking, but that's what we're doing. We're establishing where the colors are going. So if you look at this, see how much different it is? This is really dark. This is really light. That's okay, we're gonna build it up a little bit, okay? So now, what I want you to do is grab that dark blue and I want you to fill in this whole section, okay? And if you notice it's hard to do it on your easel if you're doing it, it's a small canvas, so grab it. You can hold on to it and just go like this. Just really get in there, okay? I want you to grab a little water and just go for it, okay? See, we're just adding some color. Do the paint strokes matter? Not at all, not at all. So just go ahead and add that in there. You might need a lot more paint, so just go ahead and dip right on in there. Okay, maybe a little bit more water on your brush, okay? So we're still going, okay? Still going. And halfway through, you always are probably saying to yourself, this is never gonna look good, right? Sometimes you start questioning yourself as you're going. Don't question yourself, it's gonna be fine. Here's some more of that dark blue. I'm using a little bit more than I thought I would, which is fine, okay? You're gonna dip that brush in there, right into the dark blue, okay? So remember, you want this dark blue to cover this whole thing, okay? And again, we're not worried about brush strokes. You're just filling it in, okay? Just filling it in. You can even scribble. It's probably best not to do circular motions because the water sometimes goes in circular motions, but really what you want to do is just bring that color right around. And when you think about the ocean, which I hope you do while you're painting, think of how the water flows and moves, right? It just kind of just flows. All right, and I'm gonna let you paint. I'm not gonna talk for a minute. I'm gonna let you keep filling in the ocean, okay? See, just like that. I don't know about you, but I love the sound of a paintbrush. Just that motion alone is soothing, isn't it? Just keep filling it in. Here we go. Still filling it in. Okay? Yeah, a little bit more blue. We're gonna come over here. Okay? So we wanna make sure we don't go up into the sky too much, right? So really, one of the reasons you're here today is to relax, right? So really the whole point of this class is to relax, not to worry at all. Yeah, there you go. All right, do you see how that's starting to form and shape? Okay, let's take it off the easel and let's take a look, okay? So now we've got the sky and then we've got the ocean. I'm just gonna kind of draw a little bit more of a line just to establish that just a little bit, okay? And if you notice, there's some white parts, just some really bit of white parts kind of showing through. The canvas is showing through, and if you notice, if I go like this, the paint really doesn't come off because it just needs a light coat, okay? Just need a little light coat. Because what we do here, we're using acrylic paints. That's one thing I didn't know if I explained that to you yet. Acrylic paints, they are made with plastic. And when anything's made with plastic, such as acrylic paints, they dry really quickly. If we're sitting here using oil paints, which oil paints are beautiful, they're like butter to work with, but they take forever to dry. And we're not here to kind of take forever to dry, okay? So we're just gonna take this back, fill in a little bit more. Again, a real light, thin coat, okay? Just a light, thin coat. As you're doing this, think about what beach you like. Which beach do you love? I lived in Boston for a while, and I have to say, living on the South Shore of Boston, oh boy, that was nice. You could smell that salty air. Oh gosh, that was great. So just keep filling it in, okay? Got a little drip down there, that's okay. Just squeeze that out, okay? All right, so you see that? A little bit wiggly, not a problem, but at least we know now, that's the sky, that's the ocean, and this is gonna be the sand, okay? So I really want you to do is take this bigger brush, or if you're still working with a smaller one, not to worry, really rinse it out, okay? Rinse it out in the water. Now I've got this really beat up water bowl. You can use a cup or whatever, doesn't matter. Get that paint off the brush, okay? Really dry it off, okay? We're gonna stick him back in there, and we're gonna get a brush. I don't know if you can see that. It's just kind of, again, if you tap on it, it doesn't squish down, so that's a sign of a decent brush. And the head is just kind of a little fluffy, right? So what we're gonna do before we use that brush is we're gonna find some colors to make sand. So we're gonna use this, I call this like honey mustard. I'm sure there's a technical name for it, but I call it honey mustard because I think that's more fun. And then we're gonna get a little bit of a sunny yellow, okay? Who would have thought that sand was made of honey mustard and sunny yellow? But see this kind of color? It's a little bit of a taupe, okay? But we need to get that yellow in there. We also need to get a little bit of brown. Just a teensy bit of brown goes a long way though, okay? All right. Now, I don't think I talked to you about this yet, but this is a palette knife, okay? It's a little tiny palette knife. If you don't have one, I would recommend getting one because it really adds a lot to the painting, and I'm gonna show you how to use it in a little bit, but it also serves two purposes. It can be used to mix up the colors. So you take that honey mustard and that sunny little yellow and mix it all together. See how it's starting to get to be a darker brown? Not too dark though, right? So see how it's starting to kind of look a little bit like sand, but we're gonna tone it down a little bit, okay? I'm gonna take this, wipe off that yucky paint, okay? And I'm actually gonna dip it back into the white, okay? We're just gonna add just a little bit of white. Just a little goes a long way. See how it's starting to get to the sandy sort of color? Isn't that crazy? Sunny yellow, honey mustard yellow, and brown all make sand. How about that, okay? So you wanna make a decent pile. That I probably will need a little bit more than that, but that should be good for now. So you go back to this little round brush. Remember that little guy? Okay, you're gonna dip it in the water, okay? And you are gonna do what I call stippling, okay? I don't know if you remember stippling, but stippling used to be big in the 80s. They'd go around and they put it stencils all around the walls. I never did it, but that's what they used to do. I'm just telling you. All right, so first thing you wanna do is load up your brush. And then I want you to just take your paint canvas and tap the paint in. See how I'm just tap, 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 okay? And as you notice, you might say, ooh, that color, I like it or I don't like it. I'm gonna shove this one over here. At first, I'm just gonna give it a stroke like this, okay? Just like this, okay? I'm gonna add a little bit more, and then I'm gonna stipple again over it to give it a little texture. That's why we stipple, okay? You always wanna have your painting have a little texture. And if you notice that the color's not going across the page, add a little bit of water. Because really, I think a lot of times people use so much paint and you don't really need to, okay? So I still have lots left. And see how I picked up just a little bit of that brown and it changed the color a little bit? I kind of like that for sand. I don't know, what do you think? I like it. Give it a shot. All right, so now you're gonna stipple. You're gonna tap, 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 okay? And I'm actually gonna put it up here, okay? So you can kind of see it, and we're gonna just tap it in. So instead of laying it, you're just gonna tap like this, okay? Tap, 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 okay? Just keep tapping, okay? And the cool thing is, while we're tapping in the sand, this part is drying. See, this is, look, it's all dry. So if you use a thin enough coat, you should be good. Okay, so just keep tapping. Tap, tap, tap. Oh, got a little blue in there. Okay, things like that happen, not a problem. Rinse it out, okay? Dry it off. Because right now, see, what happened, it's like a little bit of the blue paint bled on there, just take your rag and rub off, okay? And the cool thing is, after you take this class, if you have any questions or if it didn't come out exactly the way you like, you can always email me. You can reach out to me anytime because I'm happy to help, okay? So that's a good little lesson. Make sure your brush is really rinsed out, okay? I'm gonna dip it in there, add some more paint, and then I'm gonna go over it. And that covers it up pretty well. And again, if you find that it's not covering it up as well as you really want it to, then let it dry and you get back to it, okay? So how are your paintings coming? I hope they're looking good. Yeah? I bet they are. Okay, so I'm gonna put this brush down and let's look at it. Sometimes I look at it from kind of afar. Let's see, how do we like it? I notice that this needs to be dealt with, right? It's a little bit of a wobbly edge, and this kind of, that needs to be dealt with down there, okay? So now what we're gonna do, let's focus on the ocean, okay? We'll go back to the sky, but let's focus on the ocean right now, okay? So we're gonna take that blue, the dark blue, got lots of dark blue. I'm gonna add just a little bit of the light blue, and guess what I'm gonna add? I'm gonna add a little green. Why not, right? Gotta open that up. And again, I'm using the inexpensive paints. It's a little bit of a light green, kind of a spring green, right? So let's go back to our palette knife, okay? So we've got the light blue and the green, and we're gonna mix those two together. Because if you ever notice an ocean, like in the Caribbean, it's got that kind of, see that little teal color, how beautiful that is? Ooh, I love that color. Love it, okay? So just kind of take the excess and just kind of wipe it off because you don't want to waste that paint, okay? Let's go back to our bigger brush. Okay, let's use this bigger brush, okay? Again, you want to wet it, okay? All right, we're gonna take that teal sort of color that we just made, and we are gonna go over this and see how it brings out just a little bit of a green tint, because really you don't want the sky color to be exactly like the ocean color, right? You want to just kind of fill it in here, right? There you go. Just fill it in. Do you see that kind of green showing through? Yeah? Okay, just keep going. It's looking kind of cool now, isn't it? See, it's adding a little dimension. So I'm gonna pick this up so I can have more of a handle on it, okay? And you can do that too. Again, I'm using my my easel, but I don't use it all the time. The beauty of using these small canvases is that you can just pick it right up, hold it like that, okay? See, I'm just gonna go right over, okay? And I'm gonna add a little bit more of that dark blue, okay? Just add, look how much I put on there, okay? A lot of dark blue. Yeah, add a lot of dark blue. A lot of times I paint like this, and it gives me an interesting perspective when I do it like this. And when you just have it face down like this, you're working, but a lot of times it's helpful to really hold it up, okay? Hold it up and see kind of where you're at, okay? So I'm going to dip into that dark blue, some more dark blue, and really load it in there. See how much I put on there? Really loading it on. And if you notice there's that little bit of green part right there, keep that in there, okay? Because you want to keep the colors and a little bit of dimension. Again, a little bit of paint goes a long way, okay? Just want to go over it. You can start to smell that salty, you know, that salty air. And I'm starting to think of boardwalk fries. I don't know. I don't know about you, but that's what I like. That sort of stuff. All right, there you go. Just keep going, keep going. Again, just the rhythm of the paintbrush going across. All the answers are right, right? If it's been a long time since you painted, that's great. This will really relax you. See, all we're doing is going over the colors. See how it's a little bit lighter in some spots? Yep, a little bit lighter up there. There you go. Yeah, awesome. I'm actually gonna pick up just a little bit of white. See what it does there. Okay, let's keep smoothing it out, all right? Okay, now we've done a little bit more. Let's take a look. Let's see kind of where we're at. It's starting, do you see that kind of green in there? It's kind of starting to show through, right? Okay, that's what we need. All right, now, what we're gonna do, I'm gonna put the brush down. See how you've got this little line here? I want to bring a little of the sky into the ocean and a little of the ocean into the sky. Let me show you. See how this is blended really nicely? So I'm actually going to bring it over here because you do have to actually hold it. And then back to my palette, okay? I've got that light blue and the green, and I'm going to mix a little bit more of it, okay? So I have that color going. Take your brush and spin it. Just spin it, just like that, okay? So it's not too much, just a little bit on there, okay? Then I'm gonna take a little bit of the dark blue. I'm gonna swirl that around, okay? Got that? So it's kind of a combination between this color and this color. Again, doesn't have to be perfect. Add a tiny bit of water to it. So what I'm gonna do, so I'm gonna just do a line right across. You take your little pinky, rest it on the canvas. It usually, if all works well, and again, when you're doing it, you don't have to hold it up like I am. You can have it flat down, okay? So just kind of reestablish the line here, okay? Then flip it upside down again, okay? Take that brush. You don't have to rinse it out, okay? Take a little of the white, a little bit of that blue, a little bit more white. See how that looks more like the sky color? But it's got that hint of green in there. What you're gonna do, you're gonna go over it. Okay? Just gonna go over it. You're gonna start smoothing it out, okay? It's almost, instead of smoothing, it's blurring. We're really kind of blurring, okay? So just see how my brush is almost kind of, I call this my neurotic brush stroke, if you like that one, right? That's my neurotic brush stroke. Just see how it goes back and forth frenetically. Ooh, back and forth, back and forth. But see what a cool way, look how cool that is. See, look, all of a sudden it starts blending it. And I see right here, it just needs a little, I'm just gonna bring that up just a little bit. And if you listen, really listen close. It's not hard. I'm gonna flip this, listen to this. Difference, right? And look what it did to the brush. See how yucky the brush is? You don't want it to be really hard. You want it light, okay? One thing I notice when I paint, if I'm in a good mood and I'm feeling relaxed and easy, I can, just like a feather, go right over this, okay? Just right over this. But if I'm in a mood where I'm like, things aren't working, it is a lot harder to get that kind of smooth edge. So my point is, this whole thing is about relaxing, and that's what I want you to do here, is relax, relax, relax. And the beauty of this is if it's not working out, go get yourself a cup of coffee, wine, whatever you like, okay? All right, so see how I'm just really starting to blend this out. And now all of a sudden you're like, where's the sky? Where's the ocean? I don't know. It's blurring it, that's exactly what we want, okay? So leave it there. Rinse your brush out. Let's go back to that big brush, this one, okay? Dip it in the water. Oops, almost dipped it in there. All right, so we're gonna get a little bit of white and a lot of the blue. Really load that brush up, okay? It almost looks kind of like a purple, doesn't it? Technically, this is it's ultramarine blue. Love that color, and it actually is kind of ironic it's called ultramarine since we're doing an ocean painting. Okay, now if you notice, I've got just a little bit of white on there. And that's okay. It's all fine. I'm gonna pick up just a little bit more of that dark blue, okay? I'm just gonna, as I'm standing here at this angle, right over here, I'm noticing something that I bet you've been wondering about. And you probably are saying, what is it that you're wondering about? You might be wondering about these little pesky edges, right? Okay, here's the deal with the edges. Like I said, this is an 8x10 canvas. I like using these small canvases because if you go to the craft store, you can get a frame and, you know, with a glass in it, you can pop the glass out, you can put this little 8x10 in the frame, glue it, and you've got yourself a little frame, okay? A little frame piece of art. Or you can bring the color to the edge here, okay? Just like that, just on the edge. So if you don't want to use a frame, see how quickly that just kind of blends right in there? Just like that. And it's really a nice finish. So we've got the ocean in there, okay? I tend to like to do it towards the end, not in the middle, because I don't really know what's going to be happening here until somewhat towards the end, okay? And see how I take my brush? I just go swap, 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 swap. And if you notice, again, it's all personal preference. Now, but here's the deal. The cool thing is, if you do these little edges, if you go on the back, you can staple a little ribbon, something here, maybe a little ribbon, and you can just hang it. So that's kind of cute. So you could try that. So this is what it looks like if you don't do the edges, and this is what it'll become if you do the edges. And we'll put a little bit of lighter green. I'm gonna switch around here. Still same brush, didn't even need to rinse it out, okay? A lot of people are a lot more technical than I am, and I'm not that technical because I want this to be easy and fun for everybody, okay? So if you find that I'm not being very specific and technical with things, hey, drop me a line. I'll answer your questions, not a problem, okay? But see, I'm just gonna right at the edge here. See, and I kind of went down a little. Take your finger, wipe it off, okay? All right, so see how that's kind of coming along? If you want to do this side, you can, but for me, I'm gonna hold off for right now because one thing, if you do the edges, boom, make sure you have an apron on because it will get on you easier, okay? Just food for thought. And also make sure you always roll your sleeves up. Whenever I teach class, it's like one of the first things I tell people, roll your sleeves up. Because acrylic paints, sometimes they come out, but we don't want to really risk that right now, okay? And do you notice how I'm getting a couple little white marks in there? I kind of like that. So we're just going to kind of run with that, okay? So it's almost like a little wave. And you've got to think of this as an abstract sort of ocean painting. It's not going to be perfection, but what ocean is perfect, right? It's just the water. It's just moving and flowing, right? And that's the whole point. Just move and flow with it, right? It's kind of like that dark line right there, okay? So now I'm noticing I kind of want to bring that sky down a little bit. Let's rinse it out. Let's rinse that brush out, okay? Really rinse it out. And here's the deal. I've got some muddy water in there, I'll call it muddy water. That's what I always call it, muddy water, which is fine as long as you take the brush and just get that excess off, okay? And then even though it's muddy, I'm just gonna put a little bit of water on there. And this time I'm gonna dip my brush into the white, tiny bit of blue, okay? I probably put a little bit too much, but see how it's just really light like that? I'm actually gonna grab the art and I'm just gonna go over the sky just a little bit. See how it's almost like a purpley color? It's starting to look kind of pretty, isn't it? I bet yours is too. Hey, and that reminds me, when you're done, I want to see it. I want you to post it, okay? You can post it on my Facebook page and I'll give you all those details at the end, okay? So see how it's just all of a sudden starting to blend? Yeah. I'm gonna rinse that, okay? The good thing is, if you don't finish this painting, you can, here's a little trick. I'm gonna put this down and tell you a little trick I've got. So if, say you're using a paper plate or you're using parchment, whatever you want, take this, slip it into a big Ziploc bag, seal it up, it's not gonna last forever, but if you take a paper towel that's wet underneath, that wetness will absorb into the paper plate and keep your paints wet, okay? You can go and find those really, I think they're called Stay Wet palettes. You can do that, but this is inexpensive. Now, say if your kids are painting with you and they glop a ton of paint down and you don't want to waste it, this is a good little tip for you, okay? So once again, this into a Ziploc bag with a little bit of a wet paper towel underneath, not on top, but underneath, and that will absorb through the paper plate and keep the paint wet, okay? Not forever, but just long enough that when you want to get back to it, and if you're asking probably how many days, I'd say maybe a day, something like that. So that, once again, you want to make sure you don't squirt too much paint, because you don't want to waste all that paint, right? But again, that if you're just starting out, I would recommend just doing some inexpensive paints just to get you started, okay? All right, so that's coming along. So we have been neglecting our sand, okay? Down here, let's look at that sand. I don't know, is that the right color? And if you notice, this little pile is dried up already, so we're gonna have to go back. So we're gonna get our honey mustard, okay? Gonna squirt a little bit of our honey mustard color. It's probably yellow ochre is really the technical name for it. And then we're gonna put a tiny bit of that bright yellow. Let me hold it up so you can see just that. See those two little dots? And I'm gonna put a little bit of brown, just a bit, just a little tiny bit, okay? And then a little bit of white. Here we go. We're gonna take some white and mix it together, okay? Ooh, that's kind of dark, right? A little bit dark. It almost looks purple, doesn't it? I always find colors so fascinating how they change. Yeah, it's looking a little purpley. So let's go ahead and add a little bit, tiny bit of brown, maybe a little bit of that yellow ochre. See, I've got a little bit more. Let's just tap into the yellow ochre. Okay, maybe a little bit more white. There you go. See, this is the thing. It's a whole process. Every time I go to mix colors, it's never a formula, and that's fine. We're gonna add just a little bit more yellow. So if you're sitting there and you're trying to mix paint colors together, look, I'm teaching you and I'm still trying to get the right color. But the fun thing is you can go and buy a specific taupe color for your sand, but that's not as fun. I think it's more fun to use a limited palette and mix it all together and see what you come up with, okay? So let's try this color. So we've got this, we're gonna back again, remember, we've got the brush, the little fat one. We're gonna just go like that. Well, you probably don't wanna do it with it wet, but I want you to tap in there, okay? Just tap, tap, tap. It's looking a little pink. It's okay. Just kind of go along the edge there. Just tap it in, okay? Tap, tap, tap. And just kind of thicken that base up, all right? I'm gonna rinse this out, okay? Rinse, 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 okay? And then I'm gonna get a little bit more of the yellow. See what happens when we add a little bit of yellow to it. And I say yellow, I really mean that honey mustardy sort of color. Tiny bit of white, mix it up. Okay, it's looking a little bit more sandy, a little bit. We'll just tap it in there. You know, there is, believe it or not, in Sicily, I've been there once, years ago, they have pink rocks on their sand. So guess what? This is how flexible we can be. This is Sicily. We are now in Sicily, and you had no idea that's where you're gonna go today, did you? So that's Sicily, because these rocks are now pink. Kind of like it, see? I like that. All right, so now that we've got the sand and we've got the ocean, let's add a little fun. I'm sure in Sicily they have a lot of waves. So you're gonna take this little brush, okay? You're gonna dip it right into the brush, and you're gonna tap in some foam right here, okay? Tap, 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 right in there. I'm just gonna go right along the water line, maybe bring it down into the sand, okay? Maybe a little ocean spray, okay? Just tap, tap, tap right along the edge. See how we're starting to get just that little bit of ocean spray? Your kids would love doing this, I gotta tell you, I know they would. So if you're taking this class and you want to have them take a look at it, let them do it. They'd love this part, okay? And so if you see, I've got a couple little white caps in there, okay? Now, what I'm going to show you now is just a little something with the palette knife. You could finish right here, okay? This could be a finished product. And again, you would want to go to this side, finish this side up, and you want to bring the sand color down here. But if you notice, this side's up. Let's give it just a little hint right here, just to even it out, okay? Again, I'm just gonna, and the sides never have to really be perfect, right? It's just kind of just making sure that you can kind of see how it's wrapped, right? Okay, and then you want to get the sand down there. Okay, and this side's not done yet, all right? So we could leave it at this. If you don't have the palette knife, not a problem. But I'm just gonna show you a couple little techniques with the palette knife. So I've got this one, it's a little one. I find this little one is the best size for an 8x10 canvas. I'm just gonna grab a little bit of the white. See, just a little bit of the blue, and a little bit of that green. So it's kind of all mushed on there, right? This is when some people might say, ooh, that's scary, I don't want to do that. I don't mind, I'm not scared. You shouldn't be scared either. See how cool it starts looking? Now I'm like, ooh, I need a little bit more blue. See how it starts adding some texture? Then you come back with that bigger brush, remember that squared off brush, and then just kind of smooth it out, okay? Smooth it out, okay? So it just gives it a little bit more oomph, right? You can add, just maybe take that. Now if you notice, I'm gonna hold it like this. You just kind of, think of it as a butter knife, right? When you do peanut butter and jelly, you kind of smear it like this, or actually even better, a cake, right? When you frost a cake, just kind of want to slide whatever paint you have on there. It doesn't have to be perfect. Just slide it on there, okay? So there's a little white cap there. Here's the deal. When you paint, you have to just let it rip. You have to just go with it, because if you overthink things, that's when things start getting dicey and not fun. And this is meant to be fun. There you go. I kind of like it. I think it adds a little something to it, right? Okay. So, this, my friends, is not exactly like the original. And I really want to make sure you saw that. You're never going to have the same painting twice. If I did this 100 times, it's going to come out different every single time. So if you're sitting here with your friend and you're painting and yours doesn't look like theirs, that's the beautiful part of it. I love the fact that never do they come out the same way. As we come to a close, you can keep working on your art as you would like. This is the end point for me. I'm so glad to have you here painting with me, and I hope you learned something that you can continue to grow and expand, because remember, it's more than art, it's an experience.